Holy smokes. Wild Card Weekend was in fact wild, and it's got me all fired up for the divisional round. San Fran is unfazed by injuries. Houston can't snap the ball, and the Cardiac Kids up north sent the Cheeseheads packing. Will the chaos continue this weekend? I sure hope so. Chalk and Chat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Chalk and Chat. Sponsored by Superbook and Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome into Chalk and Chat. I'm Mariah Janos. 8 teams left standing, and the 1 seeds have entered the fold this weekend for the divisional round. But before we get into it, let me introduce my personal 1 seeds. Our number crunching guy with the beautiful jacket today. I'm loving it. Teddy Covers. And next to him, the guy that has a new medical emergency just about every week at this point. Fat Jack may not be a 1 seed in anybody else's book, but I guess he'll be one.
For the next 30 minutes, I'm a 1 seed. But I am on the IR, so I'm like a backup quarterback going. Too much beef jerky.
So true, guys. Gout is a real thing. Coming up on today's show, as I mentioned, 2 more teams enter the chat this week. Teddy's filling us in on the impact of the bye week historically. Plus, we're taking a look at the updated futures odds. Which teams are making the books sweat as the field gets smaller and smaller, rounded out by our player prop showdown and best bets. But let's go over what we just saw in the wild card round. For me personally, I found it to be one of the more entertaining wild card rounds we've had in a minute, with a lot of games just coming down to the final possession there, especially in the first 4 games. The last 2, not so much. But Teddy, what'd you like about it?
Sure, the first 4 games, 4 underdogs cash.
Yeah.
So that tells you that it's competitive. Obviously, the last 2, less competitive, but and certainly less offense. We saw a run of unders in Sunday and Monday. Less so, obviously, with both games flying over the total on Saturday, Jack.
Well, with road teams also, that was a big deal. You had, if Chicago doesn't get there at the end, you have a bunch of road teams. It's really why professional football is undefeated. We knew this going in. A month or so ago, we knew there wasn't going to be a huge favorite. And so we're getting these matchups later in the season that we can make a case for either side, which is, from a spectator standpoint, next level good.
Did you find any one game, the outcome at least, surprising? Were any of you baffled by anything that happened? For me, I was kind of floored by what I was seeing, especially, Carolina, the fight that they put up there. Teddy, any thoughts?
Well, I was surprised because my strength of schedule stuff didn't do squat last week.
Yes.
So the long-term trend was good. The short-term trend, Philly lost, and the LA Bolts lost as well. So the 2 strongest strength of schedule differentials did not pan out in this year's postseason. But I mean, let's go through game by game, Jack, unless you got something you want to add.
Well, I was going to say it's turnover. We'll get to it, but yeah, with the Bolts, it's turnovers, right? I mean, you turn the ball over in either college or in pro football, you lose. And so that's really that X factor why you don't press your bets up this time of year, back to a gambling standpoint. You don't go crazy this time of year because turnovers are going to have a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, it starts obviously with Carolina. You talked about how well Bryce Young played, and they hung tough in that game. The Fighting McVays, they survived and advanced. That was the highest scoring game of the weekend, was the first game of the weekend. And that LA defense, we have to say it, Jack, they're a little bit suspect right now. LA has allowed 27 or more 4 times in their last 5 games. LA also the only team that won without covering in Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, trending over for sure with their lack of play on defense, and their offense is still getting it done. I mean, I thought we saw a lot of their offense, but when you're given a touchdown or more on the road, you better play some defense. They didn't get that done on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so Chicago, if you were betting them live, they were as high as 12-1 on the money line before the wild comeback against Green Bay. Caleb Williams now has 7 wins with Chicago after the team trailed at the 2-minute warning, Jack. They're the comeback kids.
Yeah, you get that, and you get a team that we don't know. They've been so good in the turnover margin, all year long. So that becomes a really difficult team to figure out. They're at home now. They get some weather. We'll talk in detail later, but you're right. They early in the game didn't look like they were going to get there. Green Bay figures out a way to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory, and Chicago moves on.
I think the funnest game of the weekend might have been in Jacksonville. There was real drama in that game. Buffalo rallied to win. It pushed against the closing total. But that game had a real heavyweight fight feel to it, where the winner's kind of primed to make a run.
And another game where you have to figure out, is it that Buffalo is getting a better job defensively, or are they peaking at the right time, or is it just their offense has been so good against an inferior opponent? Again, we had these teams last year who did not make the playoffs, playing in the playoffs. That was not a good trend for those teams versus against the spread and straight up. Jacksonville was in that subset. Is it Buffalo's peaking at the right time, or did they get the right matchup?
I don't know if peaking's the right word.
That might be peaking. I mean, they're winning.
They're winning. They're winning. But sorry, continue on, Teddy.
No, it's fine. But San Fran, we got to talk about the outright upset at Philadelphia. The pros lose, the Joes lose, the books win. That was probably the best game of the weekend for the books. Brock Purdy might be, we can call him criminally underrated. Philly's offense sure didn't play like a championship caliber squad, though.
What we had seen most of the year. We felt like they were going to flip the light switch. They really didn't. San Francisco, with all those injuries defensively, it's like how much further can you go? That's what's so exciting about this round and going forward is you have all these teams have some holes, including the number one seeds coming off the bye. They're not top to bottom where we expect number one seeds. There's no Kansas City. There's no Philadelphia and what we've had in years past. So it makes everything not only better from a spectator standpoint, but taking some opportunities when we're betting these games.
And we want opportunities. New England's got an opportunity right now. Their defense dominated. Yeah. You know, Drake May's playoff debut, we'll call it good enough. But like Philly's loss to San Fran, this one felt more Bolts bad than New England good. LA really didn't show up.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Is that was the offensive line was a problem with LA, and you have New England that hadn't been battle tested. Well, when you get 3 or 4 turnovers, Mariah, winter's going to be delayed a week or so. It's like skiing in Utah. We're going to have to delay it.
See its shadow. You don't know. We're going to go
exactly
back
right.
Or yeah.
And last but not least, Monday night, Aaron Rodgers gets another coach to quit. This time it's Mike Tomlin. Says, I'd rather walk away than deal with this again. Pittsburgh loses. Tomlin resigns. Houston had 164 rushing yards and 2 defensive scores. That's how you win in January.
Yes, it's so excited to see what Pittsburgh does going forward. I mean, I need to stay healthy for about 5 years because there's a chance that a lot of people that I love are going to be so upset. It's going to be so funny to hear.
That includes our wonderful producer, James.
That's right.
Barrickman the fourth. He is Mr. Pittsburgh. But as to Jack's point, what stood out to me about this round? The mediocrity across the board. As you said, no true one seeds. No team is complete on all 3 phases of the game. Every single team looks just a little bit shaky, and it felt as if their quarterbacks know, hey, this team isn't complete. We got to find a way to win here, and that's what we saw this weekend. So a lot of excitement to come. All right, we're just getting started here on Chalk and Chat. Coming up, Jack doesn't have many strengths, but he can sense danger coming from a mile away. Which teams is he thinking are dangerous playing with house money? We'll talk about it next.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
We are coming off of the wildest of wild card rounds, and now we've got the divisional round in here to talk all about it. With me is our good friend John Murray, the VP of Race and Sports here at the Superbook at the Westgate. All right, let's go back to wild card weekend. Those results there, I know we didn't see some of those coming. How did you guys do overall here?
We did okay. We did very well Sunday, especially with San Francisco beating Philadelphia. Nice upset for us. Saturday night was upsetting for us. We really needed Green Bay against Chicago. Chicago comes back. They win that game in the 4th quarter. Tough loss for Green Bay. I feel worse for myself than I do for that team, though, however. I think I'm the real victim there. That was a bad one for us. Exciting weekend, though, and we did very well on Sunday.
Now looking ahead to the divisional round, any movement that you've been seeing this week?
Yeah, I'd say we're seeing money come in on Denver. They're the first game on Saturday. Denver now a 1.5-point favorite against Buffalo. Buffalo down to, I think, 2 or 3 receivers left. Nobody really for Josh Allen to throw the ball to. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Then the early game Sunday is New England. And we've seen that one go from 2.5 to 3. They're at home against Houston. Houston can't do anything offensively. That defense is pretty good.
That defense is pretty scary. I've got some nightmares already with that one. But looking at this weekend slate, is there any one team that y'all are kind of rooting against here?
I'd have to say Los Angeles. We'd love to see them go out. We've got some bad positions on them in the futures book, specifically on the exacta for the championship game, for the big game, as some might call it. We'd like to see Los Angeles go out, and we don't really want San Francisco either. We do very poorly if they win the conference. Let's go Seattle and Chicago. How about that? We'll take Seattle, Chicago out of that conference.
Let's just eliminate the whole state of California. Got it. Okay.
In football.
In football.
In football,
no,
yes.
It's my favorite state on the map, but in football, yes.
Of course.
All right.
I thought you were making a political comment.
Never. No political comments here. Sorry, I'm messing with the speaker down here. Caught me off guard there.
Don't mind us. We're just
Don't
messing
mind
with
us.
fingers.
Just
He's so
playing
crafty. Did you get that in there? He says, yeah, Buffalo. They open him as a favorite. Oh, they have nobody to throw the ball to. He likes Buffalo.
I like Buffalo. We all like Buffalo, I think, a little bit.
Josh
All right.
Allen will throw it to himself, right?
True. He can do anything. That if not, that O-line will just carry him right on over to the goal line, clearly. Okay, so let's talk about this divisional round, Teddy. Some historic trends that we're seeing, how teams do typically off of a bye.
Sure. Let's talk about some divisional round trends and angles, thanks to my friend Ralph Michaels, who passed these along to me.
Yeah,
because,
Ralph.
you call me, I'm not really a technical expert. I like numbers, but Ralph helped me with this very much. Teams off a bye since 2015. Real simple. Home favorites of -1 to -7. They're 9-6-1 against the spread, 10-6 to the over. So 60% for the shorter home favorites. Once you get to 7.5 or higher, however, home favorites just 5-8 against the spread, and they trend to the under. So the shorter home favorites have been bet on and over. The bigger home favorites have been bet against and under. Since 2010, totals of 42 or less, 5-3 to the under. Totals of 49.5 or higher, 8-9 to the under. But that middle range, 42.5 to 49, 18-7 to the over. That's worth noting. Those middle totals in 3 of the 4 games for this weekend lined in that middle range right now.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Take it away, Jack.
No, I was going to say, if you go back even further on those teams off a bye, they're only covering about 43% of the time since 2003. So just generally speaking, a little bit of trepidation if you're going to play a team with extra rest.
Sure. Let's talk about neither team off a bye. That's Houston, New England this week, and Chicago and LA. Home favorites of -3.5 or higher, 3-7 against the spread. All other home teams that are not -3.5 or higher, 7-3 ATS. So speaks to the shorter home favorites and the dogs. And away teams off an away playoff win. That's Houston and LA. As a dog of 7 or more, 9-5 against the spread. As a favorite or as a smaller dog, only 5-12 ATS. Those are the away teams off a win. They've been good big dogs, not so much in any other role.
And a lot of this is going to be things that we've used as principles going back to the entire league over the entire year. You don't overvalue teams that you think perceptually are better. You want to play underdogs over unders, and teams that recency bias. Don't get too caught up in what happened last week and expecting that to happen again simply because they're playing again.
I was going to say, how much stock do you take in these numbers that are going back to the 2010s, which feels like yesterday, but you know?
It's more for me. It's less about the specific teams and what they'll do against each other, and more about what the gambling public perceives, how their brain works. I mean, they literally watch something last week or watch something all year long, and they bet in a certain way, and that's generating some of these trends for me, at least.
So the last 2 trends were all from 2020 moving forward, so they're recent.
Right.
The first 2, there was one from 2010, which had to do with the totals, and that total's been going. I mean, that total trend has been active. Where you've got the middle range of totals flying over. Has been very active for the better part of the last 15 years. And the teams off a bye since 2015, that's, of course, in that area is right when the league switched from 6 playoff teams to 7 playoff teams. So the bye situation changed. That's why we use that parameter.
All right. Well, let's also look at, we heard John Murray kind of talking about the teams that they do not want to win, those teams that maybe there's a lot of liability on, especially with those exactas. You heard him talking about LA. You heard him talking about San Francisco. Teddy, what jumps out at you about these numbers? These are the updated lines at the Superbook at the Westgate.
So there's basically 3 categories. Mm-hmm. You have Seattle and the LA McVays. Those are the favorites right now. New England, Buffalo, Denver, Houston, the middle ground. Chicago and San Fran, the real long shots. And I'm not looking for a long shot. But where's the value? The value is with those middle teams. And, of course, they're all AFC teams. You notice New England, Buffalo, Denver, Houston. One of those teams, in my mind, you find the right one, that's the team to ride. The question is, which one, Jack?
Yeah, you need a DeLorean, go back in time. I gave you out Los Angeles, but literally back the first week of September. That's your long shot. You're getting that thing at 18-1 or so. Now you're really grasping, although, as we mentioned, a lot of these teams have some deficiencies. So you're going to get somebody out of the AFC that's playing, and they're going to be hot at the time, quote unquote. You can also, I guess the NFC's 3.5-point favorite over the AFC if you just want to bet conference right now as well. So staying out of the long shots, you can, if you don't know who's going to get there, you can look at that as well.
Well, as I mentioned, the liability for at least the Superbook at the Westgate, Los Angeles and San Francisco, two teams that you are eyeing this weekend, those games, Jack.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where there are teams playing with house money. And with this particular year, you have teams that are weak, but they're hot at the right time, and they literally have no pressure. And other teams that maybe at the start of the year they thought they were going to be good, but now they're finally there. And we get a couple of those matchups where I think all the pressure is going to be on one side. San Francisco, a big underdog to Seattle. Seattle is done more than enough. They get the 2-point conversion against LA. Now they're getting home field. But this is a San Francisco team that kind of has their number. They know the combination. They held them to 13 points per game in the two matchups. And the second one was after they had lost the linebacker and a lot of the defensive issues. They were able to overcome that. So this is a dangerous spot. When you're given 7 points in professional football, that's a dominant. We saw that with Los Angeles and Carolina last week. That's a dominant performance. And San Francisco has been able to keep this game close, and they're very familiar with what Seattle does. So they're a team playing with house money. The other one, obviously, Chicago. Chicago is a team that winning a lot of close games, winning turnover margin. They have some deficiencies. We're talking about Caleb Williams. I'm not sure they even believe. And anything beyond last week winning is house money for sure. They're ahead of schedule as it relates in pro football. You normally don't go from bad, firing your coach, to being relevant with only 4 teams to play. Normally, you take your exit this round. But that can be freeing, especially at home against LA when you've got Stafford not good in the weather. He's 1-9 straight up his last 10 when it's snowing and raining and cold. Seems stereotypical. He seems like he should be surfing on the beach. But by playing in Detroit and in LA, you're not getting as much of that, and they have to go on the road. Dangerous spot for them. Chicago, definitely a live dog.
Yeah, it's a wonder when it's going to catch up to Chicago. At what point is
you can't,
the other shoe going to
And
drop?
from a gambling standpoint, you can't bet on that.
Right.
How many times are you going to guarantee they're going to get turnovers late, or a team just absolutely implode late in the game to win a game late?
Yeah.
One thing you can do is bet on them in game, bet on them live. You've enormous payouts with Chicago throughout the course of the season. When you rally back from 7 times within the 2-minute warning, you can get some big payouts.
They are the definition of it ain't over till it's over. All right, still to come on Chalk and Chat. The only way to elevate your in-game experience is by making a stop at the prop shop. We've got our player prop battle after the break.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
Welcome back. All right, we've given you some sides, some totals, but now we're going to talk props. It is time for our prop battle. All right, we are starting with Brock Purdy over under 22.5 completions in Seattle. Teddy.
Yeah, 22.5 the prevailing number. There are 23.5s out there, depending on what kind of juice you want to lay. But this is real simple. San Fran couldn't run last week. I'm not expecting much success on the ground against another elite defense, a much more leader defense this week in Seattle. And I called Purdy criminally underrated a few moments ago. It took till Brady's second ring for the big game that people stopped thinking about him as a 6-rounder. That hasn't happened yet for Mr. Relevant. Purdy over completion.
I don't have a man crush on Brock Purdy.
Okay.
So, but I also think that if this goes over, it's because the line is right and it gets out of hand and he's throwing late to catch up. I think they're going to be a conservative game plan, try to stay in front of the chains. Even though they haven't had a lot of success running it, that will be objective number 1. So let's go under. I think this game is close to the end, so let's go under his pass pimps.
All right, next up, Drake May over under 6.5 rushing attempts against a scary Houston defense.
Sure, let's talk about, I'm looking to bet quarterback rushing props over. At this stage of the season, the QBs aren't holding anything back. When they got a chance to run, they're going to run. And May, what did he go, 10 for 66 rushing last week? He's primed to do it again. Houston's pass defense is elite. That means fewer open receivers. That means more scrambling chances. Drake May over rushing attempts.
Biggest problem for New England will be the fact that Houston gets there with their front 4 more times than not. And Drake May's been sacked a ton, so I do think that he will attempt to take off. I'm not sure how many times he gets back to the line of scrimmage, though. Let's say those are losses, which they don't count as rushing attempts. We're going to see the more sacks and less rushing attempts. Let's go under that total.
All right, and finally, in the Mile High City, we got Brandon Cooks over under 2.5 receptions with Buffalo.
We're going to go Brandon Cooks under 2.5 receptions. Before last week, he had 5 catches in 5 games for Buffalo since they got him from New Orleans. All right, Denver's pass defense, Vance Joseph, at home in January, that's a tough nut to crack. And 9 different players caught a pass for Sean McDermott's team last Sunday. They have lots of competition for receptions, even with the injuries at wide receiver.
If Cooks doesn't go over, Allen is throwing to himself. He's going to throw it up, catch it. And a really smart female handicapper told me they have no receivers. Who are they going to throw it to?
We're going to throw it to Brandon Cooks.
Over
I'm
the
that
total.
really smart female handicapper by the
My New
way.
England expert.
I need a plaque with that on it. Finally, on Chalk and Chat, best bets and total kings have been synonymous in recent weeks. Will that continue? Find out when we come back.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, it is time for best bets. They have me second guessing myself over here. Okay, Total Kings, it's time. Let's give your plays this weekend. Jack, we'll start with you.
Want to know in the playoffs?
Yeah, no big
just
deal.
rolling right along. We're going to go overthink it. Let's not overthink it
All
here
right.
because you've got the best defense in the league and actually the two top defenses in the playoffs. So we're going to go under the total.
Compliment for New England?
So backhanded, though, because I do think they're going to lose, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring loss. We're going to go under the total with this game because of all the things we've seen out, especially Houston, and the fact that their quarterback was turning the ball over at will last week. I think it'll be a more conservative game plan this week. Let's go under in Houston, New England.
All right, Teddy, what do you got?
Let's go to the mile-high air of Denver and go over the total. 45.5, 46, the prevailing number. And, of course, we talked earlier about the trend, 18-7 with these particular total ranges long-term to the over. Nasty weather and mile-high air, not so much. Game time temperatures in the 40s. It's going to be sunny. There's no wind. Hard to trust this Buffalo defense. They were gashed again by Trevor Lawrence last week. Hard not to trust Josh Allen against any defense, even elite ones. And these two teams have combined for 29 fourth down conversions full season. They convert. Don't settle for field goals. I like over the total in Denver.
Both these teams 4-2 to the over their last 6 also, so they're trending that way as well. So
All right. Well, in addition to being a numbers guy, Teddy's also a weatherman as well. I love when you throw in what the temperature is going to be out there in Denver. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode. Good luck in the divisional round. We'll see you next week.